All right, everybody, it looks like we are live today. Welcome to the People's Congregation of Shakers and Movers. We are a tribe of high vibe people, and we are coming together to stream this content for you online because we know not everybody can get to church every week, right? I kind of started PCS&M honestly because I didn't have a church, Colleen. I grew up in the woods of Maine, and my parents, nature was our church, quite honestly. We communed outside, we prayed, we had our own practices, but we never had that like brick and mortar. And so, you asked me to, today mention like, how did this even all come to be? And this community has become a place of growth, healing, connection. It's become a place of accountability, I think, for a lot of us in the community that we're just all feeling so disconnected. During the pandemic, we weren't hugging, we weren't breathing, or we were breathing into these masks. And, just like a lot of good ideas came out of COVID, I happen to think that the People's Congregation just really, it propelled us, it really propelled us to say, okay, how can we raise the vibration and make the world a better place in this time of like uncertainty and change. It's exciting as much as it's scary for me. Like I actually feel very blessed that we have so much potential to change. And that's been a big theme of mine for, looking back at 2022, is just, what do we want? What do we want to focus on? Because I don't want to focus on what I don't want. You know what I'm saying? I want to focus on what I do want. So, what I do want is to focus more time on developing this amazing content. And I hope that we can really work together to share our page and get some subscribers because we've landed here and we're going to be here to stay. Like, we're off the Relevant app, everybody. We're announcing it. We are here. And we are an official 501c3 charity. So, just like all other nonprofits, we're constantly fundraising. And so you want to check back for our page regularly for our events because all of our services are essentially a fundraiser. So, this could be turned into a fundraiser, right, Colleen? But basically, we're going to have lunacy every Monday. We're going to have exhalation every Tuesday. And we're going to have Anna, our self-care doula, every Wednesday. And we're going to be really committed to bringing this content so that we can just stop and smell the roses, frankly, right? And so, Colleen, you became involved with me in my life, which kind of naturally just got you involved with PCS&M way back in, gosh, I think it was probably 8 years ago now or something. I mean, I had one kid. Maybe I had two.
Yeah, I think
But either way, I became instantly enamored. And, Colleen, being our resident astrologer, has really helped a lot of the members in my community who were struggling with spiritual crises, with, or I just had a baby and I just want to know what I can kind of expect out of this little bugger, like you've really enhanced with your words of wisdom and with your ability to interpret the astrology and like the chart and our natal chart and what was going on the day that we were born, but not just that, what is going on currently and how the events that are happening this year and beyond will affect the course of our life. And so we call this co-creating with the cosmos. That's what Colleen helps us do. And you can also find Colleen live and in the flesh at the Situate Salt Cave. So do go to ColleenMarieHealing.com. And that's right, watch this.
oh my goodness, this is so
Yeah,
fancy.
so I
Thank
like to shout out Switcher Studio, which is this amazing iOS only Apple product that is going to allow us to really up our production value. So, welcome to Lunacy, everyone. This is technically Lunacy, which is a production of the People's Congregation of Shakers Movers. So, now that you know what we're all about, and like I said, we're about so much more, but really going to pcsam.org, signing up for our newsletter, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, get this astrology, monthly forecast, get some self-care tips in your inbox, and definitely check out Soul Saturday and come and dance with us. This Saturday, we're
you.
doing yoga at noon too, at the beginning of Soul Saturday. If you're out, come by. So, Colleen, it's
Uh,
2023. Happy freaking New Year.
Happy friggin' New Year. Here we are. And I want to just say, I loved what you shared about the need for community and what you'd said about how out of, such a dark time that I think COVID and quarantine was for all of us, there was this light. And I think a lot of us did turn to things like astrology to help make sense of it all a little bit more. And that's what I love about this work is often think that we're so isolated in the cosmos, and that life is just some material existence that's just a bundle of gases and molecules and particles or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all related. We're all interconnected, and we're all experiencing these cycles of the universe. And so co-creating with the cosmos is all about understanding the cyclical nature of life, and therefore maybe not expecting us to be kind of just full throttle achievement oriented 24/7, because that's not natural. And instead to kind of counter that. And I've been really sharing this like gospel of, rest is a form of rebellion against the patriarchy. Like when we say it is just important to sit back and trust that like rest is needed, that to me is a way of saying like I trust my inner self and the cycles of the universe over the kind of conditioning that the culture has given me and others. And therefore, when we pay attention to the sign, the phase of the moon, which is of course Luna, right? And that's kind of the idea that we're going for here is Luna C, looking at the moon cycles, but also cycles of planets and the sun to really hone the expectations that we set for the week ahead. And so I'm so excited to be here this year. This is a really big year astrologically. Before I really dive into just this week, I do want to mention that we have had the planet Pluto in the sign of Capricorn since 2008. Pluto is, even though it's been demoted as a planet, which whatever, Pluto will always be a planet in my heart. Pluto is definitely this like astrological, it packs a punch, and it teaches us where we have repressed feelings and repressed beliefs. And in the sign of Capricorn, that's all about, and we're in Capricorn season right now. This month right now that we're in is Capricorn season. So this is all really coming up right now. Capricorn is the sign of structure, of government, of patriarchy and power. And it's kind of the like divine, almost stereotypical father of the zodiac. So a lot of us right now, I'm sure. So Pluto is moving, first, before I go into that, Pluto's moving into Aquarius in March of this year for the first time since in over 200 years.
Oh, wow.
So this is a new time for us. And I think it's no coincidence that we've been singing about the age of Aquarius since the 60s and 70s. This is happening. We're living it. We're living this cutting edge time.
I just thought of something about like what was going on in 2008 with like the financial crisis. And isn't it interesting that we have this like recession vibe that's like looming, but I feel like we've learned better how to conserve like our energy.
Mm-hmm.
We've had this like more kind of time to reflect on what's really important. And maybe, the cost of energy doubling is going to cause more Americans and people to remember to shut their lights off. And maybe you have to look for the silver lining, but I find it really interesting that this looming financial thing feels so much like 2008, right? And it's
Absolutely.
weird that it even
Absolutely.
like it goes on
Yeah.
at this.
And when you think about like, the anti-Wall Street movement that came out of that, and really when Pluto moves into Aquarius, and it's going to kind of dip in, and then it's going to come back into Capricorn for a minute, and then it's going to go back in 2024. So this is, it's a slow cycle, which is good. It's not going to hit us super intensely all at once. But Aquarius is the sign of the collective. It's the sign of, scientific breakthrough that kind of levels the playing field for everyone, so that this hierarchy of power becomes less obvious. And it's going to be an interesting time. And I think that you're absolutely right. Those of us who are really kind of reliant on these structures that are no longer serving the human collective any longer, it's going to hurt. But for those of us who are open-minded to living a more kind of universally aligned lifestyle, it's not going to hurt as much. It's going to actually feel really refreshing. But this is all coming. And obviously, Lunacy is a weekly podcast. So we're going to kind of bring it now back into the microcosm of this week ahead. So I'm going to start with the fact that we have a full moon coming this week. So if you've been feeling like energy is starting to kind of ramp up a little bit, that could be why. So every time we're in a lunar cycle, as we reach towards the full moon, our energy kind of tends to increase. We hit the full moon, that's culmination, and then things start to kind of go downwards again towards the new moon. The new moon being the most kind of internal, sometimes low energy, but ultimately deeply intuitive and imaginative time of the cycle. So we're on that upswing right now this week. But at the same time, we've got Mercury retrograde and we have Mars retrograde. So Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn. It is very close to the sun. So we might be feeling like our thoughts are just really real and there's not a lot of room for subjectivity right now. We might be feeling very opinionated. That's something that I'm seeing in myself lately, where it's like I'm struggling to see the big picture sometimes because I'm so focused on these identifying with my ideas and identifying with my beliefs, my own beliefs. So really not having that super flexible outlook. And that, of course, is mirrored by the fact that Mars is retrograde in Gemini. So Mars will luckily station direct on the 12th of January. So we've got, just like a couple more weeks, not even, of that energy. And then Mercury will station direct on the 18th. So things will lighten up after that. It'll feel like we're finally able to make some forward momentum. A lot of people absolutely hate Mercury retrograde, and I get it. It can really affect technology, it can affect communication, it can affect our thoughts. But the good news about it is that it gives us an opportunity to go back and revisit things that we've maybe put up on a shelf and to kind of reassess and finish up and tie up those loose ends that need to be, readdressed. So this is a really good time for that. But watch for feelings of frustration, feelings like we just want something to shift and be different, but we're kind of stuck in the muck of it still. That's going to be really, prevalent during this first week. So we've got that. I think is a time about, so because we're in Capricorn season, and I mentioned a minute ago, Capricorn's kind of like the stereotypical father of the zodiac, right? So like a dad energy that's not always the highest vibration is going to be one who is just like, you guys go figure it out on your own. You need to take full responsibility. There's a coldness there. There can be a bit of a distance and like a harshness, right? That can show up when Capricorn is not in its highest expression. When Capricorn is in a higher expression, it can balance that with what Cancer full moon is going to be bringing in later this week. So the Capricorn Cancer opposition is like the divine father, divine mother. Now, a low vibration mother is a smother, right? Someone who is, oh, honey, you can't do that yourself. I'm going to do it all for you. And you poor thing. And we need both, right? We need both in our lives. We need moments where we say to ourselves, I can give myself some grace and some kindness and compassion and empathy. That's Cancer. But I also need to know when to say, it's time to buck up. It's time to pull myself up by the bootstraps, as, such a Capricornian phrase would be, right? So that's what's coming through lately. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling this on such a deep level because I have a Capricorn moon. So I tend to go towards having really high expectations for myself and others. And it can be a little hypercritical. I take things seriously. I can be very sharp when I'm upset. Both Cancer and Capricorn have that in common. They're both cardinal signs. And I'm also a Cancer rising. So I've got this dynamic is very much present in my life. I'm here to learn, Cancer rising, how to be gentler with myself. My natural state is to expect like everything to have been done yesterday. So I think a lot of us are spending this week and this time, maybe this is always a time where we set resolutions. I want to say it's because Mars is retrograde, because Mercury is retrograde, we might not be able to really expect traction just yet.
Mm.
But if we're planning and strategizing, this is a good time for that. It is a good time to plan and strategize the overall for this next year. Implementation just might not hit just yet.
Well, I think this kind of goes along with what you said about reviewing old systems, right? And like that's even like what came about with the Switcher Studio. That resonated so much because I was like, wow, we just kicked Mercury's, you know what?
Yeah,
That
we
was
did.
so seamless today. So thank
Yeah,
you.
yes. And I think part
That.
of that true is also because what we're doing together, we've been doing it together for a long time, right? So we're
Yeah,
revisiting something that already exists and
yeah.
adding something new to it versus starting. If we had just started this for the first time, we probably would have run into some issues today.
Absolutely. But I love that because I think it just expands so much upon what I want to focus on is really taking care and nurturing what I have. And
Yes. I
and if anything, reducing what I have. I'm feeling like I need to almost contract
remember.
and expand, you know? That's kind of the vibe.
Yes. 100%. 100%. And that is, inherent to, I think, again, this shift Pluto into Capricorn that we're all, I mean, into Aquarius from Capricorn that we're all going to be feeling this year. But also just during this, Cancer and Capricorn full moon, it tends to bring a lot of emotions to the surface. And one thing Cancer does, it collects stuff around it to feel secure. It likes to be attached to things. It likes to feel safe and at home and surrounded by the people we love. So this full moon is one that could be super emotional for a lot of us. And it's really important that we're always looking at how can I trust that, I don't need all of these things around me to feel secure. How can I create more just belief in my own strength and my own ability, because that's very Capricorn. So that dynamic is really big right now. So I will say too, we're heading into this full moon. We have to remember. So I actually saw a really cute movie with my kids. I saw the Puss in Boots movie. And I think this is a perfect example because in the movie, sorry if this is spoiler, but he realizes after he's gone through all of his 9 lives as a cat, and all of a sudden he realizes, I'm trying to be this legend, which is very Capricorn. We're trying to make a name for ourselves. We're trying to, be bigger than the life that we're in, which is important sometimes. We have to have dreams like that. But he realizes in the course of this movie, which is honestly really adorable, that he is not here just for that. He has to also have the love of the people that he cares about around him in his community and his adorable, little cat girlfriend, whatever. So
Revisit
this
that
is
one. I think I probably watched it like 10 years ago and I was probably so
oh,
sleep
this is the
deprived.
new one. This is the
Oh,
new one that just came out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh,
It's super.
I love that.
Anyway, I just was like, that's funny. That's a great little theme because ultimately that's what we're really hitting. And this full moon will likely bring a little bit of expanded energy because energy is kind of feeling low for a lot of us as we head into the new year. So don't feel like you're alone there. With that Mercury and Mars retrograde, it's inevitable. We're gonna feel a little like not forward momentum.
Is going to come very quickly tomorrow after the week that
Yeah.
we, everything is exactly what you said in my life. Like I gave myself permission this week to stay in bed until 9:30. My mom and dad both ended up with COVID and my husband. So it's like, we really are still living this, but with a lot more acceptance, and it's not as hard to be like, hey, I finished that baby blanket I was trying to finish for 3 months, 3
Yes, that's the perfect way to use this time. It really is.
Yeah.
So I would say as we're heading into this week, we've got some stuff happening astrologically I'd like to kind of talk about. Today, the moon is in Taurus. So this is also still a really good day to just kind of veg and hashtag self-care and focusing on the little things at home that make us feel safe and secure and happy and like our cup is really full and good food, good, conversation, all those things. So that's going to be really important. The moon does come to a trine with Pluto today. So as we're talking about all of this stuff, looking at these structures, luckily that's a harmonious alignment. So we could be bringing some stuff up to finally release it emotionally. So we like that in a positive way.
Mhm.
Um, so we also have Venus moves into Aquarius. So it's kind of Venus, Mercury, and the Sun move very closely together in the sky, which makes sense, right? Venus tends to kind of be the way shower. It goes a little bit further out before it retrogrades back. And so it's kind of the first one dipping its toe into Aquarius season, which of course the sun doesn't get into Aquarius until the end of January 20th, 22nd, sorry. So as we're moving towards that, we're going to get a little bit of a taste of what Aquarius has to bring toward to us this year. And Venus here is really all about um, freedom, wanting to create more freedom in our relationships, in what we're creating. We want to be more authentic, more maybe a little rebellious. Venus and Aquarius can be a little bit tough on like relationships that are really established because it makes us want to shake things up a little bit. So some of us might be feeling this already where we're like, listen, this thing that I was accepting in my relationship is no longer working and it's time to shift this up. I don't know. Maybe other people can feel me on that one.
Well, for 18 years. So I would definitely fall into that category of being in a quite established relationship. And I have to say, because he's had COVID all week, like I just said that to him. I was like, I feel like I haven't like out of I've hung out with my cousins, I've hung out with extended family, but I
Yeah.
haven't even seen you all week. You know,
Yeah.
hey, because I feel like maybe now we can use that as an excuse to reconnect because we just had to like, you know, quarantine.
Absolutely. And it's also a really great time in our established relationships to bring in excitement, new things to like, what are you learning about? What are you studying right now? What can you share with me that's intellectual and interesting? It's going to be more about connecting on that intellectual level for the next few weeks with Venus in Aquarius. So, yeah, I mean, that is happening. We also have on Tuesday, Wednesday, Moon moves into Gemini. The On Tuesday, it actually comes conjunct to that Mars retrograde I mentioned. So there could be some frustrations tomorrow, maybe some like big emotions that kind of feel like they can't be expressed when it comes up against Mars. So, watching for that, expecting that like if I'm feeling a little angry, I just need to like honor it versus denying it. This could also bring in though some nurturing action, some desire to really like let the people around us know how much we care about them. That's important. We don't always do that enough.
Mhm.
At the same time, the sun is in a nice trine to the Uranus and Mars. So Uranus has been in Mars for several years, and it's always about kind of switching up. We talked about this a minute ago. The way what we value, what our social norms are. Money is a piece of this. All the changes we've seen in that realm financially has been partially due to or reflected by Uranus in Taurus. So this is a good time. We might be feeling some new ideas coming in, some electricity about, what's on the horizon, what's fresh, what's new. Aquarius, I just talked about Venus entering Aquarius, is ruled by Uranus. So it's the same vibration in a couple different places. When you see a theme like this, expect it to actually play out in your life. And the thing we can expect with Uranus is to expect the unexpected. So watching for that. New ideas really are possible. This is a great time for freedom of self-expression and really dreaming of in a new direction, even if we can't implement it until we have the Mercury and Mars stationing direct. So yeah, and then we've got, Thursday, the moon is going to be entering Cancer, and that's when we head towards that Cancer full moon on Friday. So Thursday and Friday will likely be a very emotional time for a lot of us, but ideally in a very balanced way. Maybe we give ourselves some grace. Maybe we find ourselves being a little bit less harsh with our expectations. A lot of people go into the new year with these resolutions that can be like a little over the top. And it's important that we find balance and trust that like we'll figure it out, we'll get there. We still need to be gentle with ourselves and kind to other people, right? So that's really important. We talked about that. this full moon is really asking us, where am I being too self-indulgent? Where am I being too self-critical? Looking at those two things. Where am I enabling myself and others? And where am I judging myself and others too harshly? Those that dichotomy is all being thrown into what what this week is all about. So yeah, that's kind of the overview, I suppose, of this week as we head towards this Cancer full moon. I just love that I get to come here. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, so I was just going to share with you. So I was raised by a Cancer, and I'm raising a Cancer daughter. My mom is a Cancer and my daughter. And it's so funny because, like, I don't know if this is, it seems like it's sort of related, like you said, as we were, because we're working up till the full moon. It was like we all woke up this morning and it was like games are put away, like everything is organized. Even the way my daughter like packed her suitcase, I'm like, who are you? I'm like, it was just so like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Everything's just like, and just this real, like, organizational energy I'm feeling. So this might be, when you said that about Thursday, might be a good time to try to go tackle some of that stuff at my office that I've been putting off.
Yeah, this Capricorn season is always a good time to organize and like set those intentions. It's an earth sign, so it's very much concerned about what's physically around us and really working in this space. So, and I just did the same thing. I purged closets, I purged cabinets. I'm right there with you.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Christmas tree down. That's going to be a battle because I know my son wants it up forever. But thank you so much. This was awesome. And I'm so excited that we're going to be continuing to do this every week. And I did put the hat on so I would not forget to mention that we are
Yes,
have church merch. We're calling it church merch. And
mm,
of course, you're not purchasing the item, so therefore you do not have to pay sales tax. In fact, you are just making a donation to the church, and then we can give you the gift of a hat. So for the yearly support, it's $250 a year. But what you are getting is a weekly astrology report, a weekly breathwork class, and a weekly yoga class that you can take advantage of now online every single week. So you basically get like what, 8 free classes, and then of course that helps support Soul Saturday. And Soul Saturday we do stream on Twitch TV only, just because of the copyright issues. So again, that the hashtag or the @ is always going to be PCSAM. I mean, PCSM Church, but the website is PCSAM because we couldn't get PCS in it.
yes.
But hindsight's 2020. Like it doesn't quite all match. But, you know, every year we get a little better and a little more organized, right? So yeah, one big thing to look out for, this weekend is, again, we're gonna have our slow and flow yoga class, and I might even be streaming it here because why not? I don't think, oh, because the copyrighted music in the background, that's why we can't. So what the idea is behind the Saturday class is we actually do yoga to the live DJ. So it's pretty fun because
That's amazing.
yeah, it's going to be DJ Wyatt again this week. And yeah, Colleen, thank you again. I'm so excited to do some more fundraising and potentially get a grant so that my dream of bringing this content into the metaverse for those who are locked up or those who are just, really need like 8 hours a day of support, not once or twice a week, because let's face it, a lot of people are struggling right now. So yeah, so we're gonna just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And thank you again so much for being part of this community. And Colleen, where can people find you if they wanted a natal chart?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, ColleenMarieHealing.com is a great way to find me. I'm also on Instagram at Colleen Marie Healing. And head over to my website. There's a lot of different offerings. You can always just email me anytime, and I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Colleen. Hopefully I will see you in the flesh soon. You have an
Yes,
awesome
please.
week.
Mwah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.